There's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We're starting with Speaker Fergus. Andrew Scheer says the Speaker of the House of Commons must be independent and non-partisan. This is Speaker Greg Fergus in his Speaker's robes in the Speaker's office, delivering a speech to the obviously highly partisan Liberal convention. Totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Absolutely totally unacceptable. Why are we allowing our elected officials to use their offices to enrich themselves and others, other levels of government, other liberal levels of government, et cetera, and they shouldn't be. And there are rules against that. There are checks and balances usually against that. And the Speaker flouting that kind of stuff sends a big message to the rest of the Liberals who will be able to take his lead, right? Here's CTV News. They're reporting U.S. assassination attempt. Charges confirm Trudeau's claim about India has real substance, former National Security Advisor says. Yeah, I mean, okay, it's basically the same thing as we've all got this consensus. And the consensus is, right, that Modi totally tried to kill a guy. And on Canadian soil. And now that Modi totally tried to kill a guy on U.S. soil, and they're taking the U.S. concerns about this seriously, that totally means that when Justin Trudeau accused Modi of killing a guy on Canadian soil, that was legit, according to CTV News. Nope. I need to see the evidence. I need to see the evidence of what Trudeau saw to make him say that, and why he thought that doing it in public was a good idea. There's a whole bunch of really, really questionable things about this whole thing. This is more questions than answers. This is not, oh, well, Modi totally killed a guy. Nope, sorry, not going to happen. I don't believe these people. And I don't believe that, I don't know that they think that this is convincing, but they put it out there anyway, because it'll convince the soft masses, right? But I need evidence. I'm not just gonna go along with this because the news says so, because the news lies a lot. Here's Amazing Zoltan, and Hall said, Amazing Zoltan says, Trudeau's speech is so dystopian and creepy, it's hard to believe. He brags about overthrowing Canada's democracy, jokes about inflation crisis, revels in never taking responsibility, and leaves everyone speechless when he compares Jordan Peterson and Poilievre to Hitler. So this is from 13 months ago. I've never seen this. This is from the Ottawa Press Gallery dinner. It's supposed to be funny. He's supposed to be joking, okay? I watched it. I couldn't make it through the whole thing because it's just despicable. I didn't find it funny at all. I find him despicable, so maybe that's why. But here's Justin Trudeau being a despicable POS. Here we go.
When the Conservative Party looked at the Ottawa occupation, they thought, this is an expression of righteous anger, and we must support them. But Liberals, we looked at a group of people with a written agreement to overthrow the government, and we said, great idea, get Jagmeet on the phone. I myself spent a lot of time this year surrounded by honking and wailing. I don't know what their deal was, but the geese and loons at Harrington just wouldn't shut up. But I have to admit, I have learned a lot since 2015. Now, instead of having to apologize and take responsibility for whatever it is, whenever something goes wrong, I adopted new approaches. Because yes, the summer had its ups and downs, and not just the bungee jump. We all remember my scandal at the Finnish embassy.
I don't care. I don't care at all. I haven't even heard the part where he compares Poilievre to Hitler or Peterson to Hitler. I don't actually care. It's just one of those things where tone-deaf leaders making jokes to their bought-off press corps, it's a little tone deaf. It's not something that I'm sitting there going, ha, good one, Trudeau. Nope. Sorry. I'm not on board with any of this. In fact, I think that we need a very sober, serious conversation about our politics in this country, and having Justin Trudeau involved at all makes it unserious. CCFR shares this clip of Mr. Poilievre, and they're sparring on the House of Commons floor talking about the gun laws, and Poilievre says the NDP has betrayed their constituents, and he uses some anecdotal stories from when he's been traveling the country talking to real people, real Canadians, about the NDP's record and what they think. So here's an NDP MP trying to I don't know, talk down to Mr. Poilievre, and Poilievre comes back and punches twice as hard. Here we go.
You know, I'm astounded at the sheer audacity of the Conservatives lecturing us on the Senate. After all, this is a party that has a history of appointing party bagmen and failed candidates. This is the party of Nigel Wright and Mike Duffy. This is the party that has 15 senators that still caucus with it every week. The only party, and this is a party that has had their senators frequently block private members' bills in the past. My question through you, Madam Speaker, why does the member for Carleton think, or is he aware of his own hypocrisy, and why does he think he can stand here and lecture us on the Senate?
Here.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, I'll tell him why I think I can lecture him. Because that member betrayed his constituents. They elected him to be a member of the opposition. Instead, he works for the Prime Minister. Every time I go to Vancouver Island, they say their MPs sold them out. Sold them down the river, voted to ban their hunting rifles while allowing violent gun criminals onto the street, voted to hand out dangerous drugs and cause crime, chaos, in tent cities all over Vancouver Island, voted to quadruple the carbon tax while, in order to fund the extravagances of this Prime Minister. They have, the NDP, especially those from Vancouver Island, are working for the Prime Minister instead of working for the common people and their constituents. It's not only me that should lecture that member, it's every single Canadian that should lecture them that their job is to work for the people, not for the Prime Minister.
That's new. I haven't heard that before from Mr. Poilievre, that the MPs should work for the people and not the Prime Minister. I haven't heard that. So that's interesting. The rhetoric is interesting. It's a shift. I still don't trust the CPC. I still don't trust Mr. Poilievre. He's going to build 15-minute cities. I hope I'm wrong. And when I say I hope I'm wrong, I honestly, truly, 100% hope I'm incorrect. I hope Mr. Poilievre is a great Prime Minister who restores Canada to being a free country, who restores freedom of speech, who underpins all of the things that I want in a country. Because that would be the fastest route to getting back to sanity and being able to live our lives in a fulsome way where we get to decide rather than Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre or anybody else. So if he does that, if I'm incorrect about him, I will love it. I will be a very happy person. But I don't think I'm wrong about him. And I hope desperately that the damage he does isn't as bad as the damages that Trudeau has inflicted on this country. So I'm not ready to say CPC or anything like that, but this is Canadian politics. This is what we're talking about. And this is a different tone coming from this Conservative leader. So I don't know if he's softening. I don't know if he's listening. I don't know what's going on necessarily. I don't know what's going on in Mr. Poilievre's inner circle. I'm just watching from here, right? I'm watching from my garage, just like you guys are. So I'm going to tell you when I hear different things coming out of his mouth. I'm going to tell you, and I'll tell you when I think he's testing things and it's sloganizing and it's testing for elections and things like that. But that sounded genuine. I don't know. I hope we have a government that reflects the will of the Canadian people. I hope we have a government that actually works for the Canadian people. And what Poilievre just says is, that's the job of an MP. If he believes that, then things might be different. Might be. Oh. Hope? Is that some hope? I hope not. Because I don't want to trust him. Because I don't trust him. Moving on, here's Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh says, Gherkin and I are so excited for our new little one to join our family. Right now, I'm thinking about families across the country who are struggling to support their loved ones. I want you to know that I have your back. See, so like he says this, Jagmeet Singh says, I have your back. But his actions are not saying that to people, in my opinion. And so he's using his child as a political tool, right? Here's my kid. I've got your back, my personal experience, blah, blah, blah. This is, again, something that is a bit of a departure from Canadian politics. Kids being used as props is something that we haven't really seen. We had some NDP MPs and Karina Gould be pregnant very prominently, but we haven't really seen the kids take center stage. And then now we're seeing Hadrian as well as taking center stage. So these liberals like to use their kids as props, and that's weird to me, and I just wanted to show that to you. Him saying this is less convincing than Mr. Poilievre saying kind of a throwaway line of, you are supposed to work for your constituents, not for the Prime Minister. Why? I don't know. Because Mr. Singh seems calculated, whereas this seemed like a speech off the cuff. So I don't trust him still. I still don't trust him. Moving on to Ontario Liberals. Ontario Liberals have elected Bonnie Crombie as their new leader. In 2026, will be ready to take her progressive and compassionate vision for Ontario to voters and kick Doug Ford and his insiders out. We need a political party in Ontario that is conservative, number one. Number two, not Doug Ford's conservatives, because they're not conservative. The political party that comes up and that is not liberal or conservative should probably focus on restoring the freedoms back to the citizens, have abolished school boards completely, right? Turn off immigration completely, and then figure out what we need, exactly what we need, right? And maybe if we can't get that here from our own citizens who are already here, then we can talk about bringing people from other parts of Canada to fill jobs. But we don't need to wholesale bring people to Ontario to do work for like battery plants and things like that. I would also make it a situation where the Conservative Party coming in Ontario would get out of the CPP and have an Ontario pension plan. I would probably work with Alberta to make that happen. There are so many things that we could do that would benefit Ontario and the citizens of Ontario and make the governance of this province much better. But instead, we've got Doug Ford and his nephew running things, and then Bonnie Crombie waiting in the wings. Bonnie Crombie, what? Oh, I can't stand Bonnie Crombie. She's worse than Jagmeet Singh. Believe that. Here is Danielle Smith, and she says Ottawa must stop passing illegal and unconstitutional laws. Period. We're going into COP now, so this is Danielle Smith has been banging the drum about Ottawa's overreach for a while, and she is methodically set up a situation where the laws in Alberta counteract the laws in Ottawa. And so she has a lot of I think she feels very stable legally from her position at this point in time. And she says as much. Here we go.
The reason we have to stand up for Ottawa is to demonstrate the way this country is supposed to work. We are not a lower level of government. We're not a subordinate level of government. We are an equivalent level of government. They've got powers. We've got powers. They need to stop invading our jurisdiction. They pass laws that are unconstitutional. They are operating in a lawless way. And then it creates economic and private sector uncertainty. They force us to go to court. It takes 4 years for us to get a decision. And then they think that they can go and ignore the court anyway. And I know not everyone was persuaded when I brought through the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act, but it was never about invading federal jurisdiction. It was putting up a shield so they stop invading ours. And I've been quite interested to see, and I knew I had to be judicious in its use, but these net zero power regulations are our principal example. They don't have expertise in developing electricity. We do. I know that our grid is under stress. We have had 10 level 3 alerts in the past 18 months because we were stressed. We don't have anyone willing to build natural gas power plants because the emissions reduction the feds are expecting of them are so stringent that no CEO is going to take the risk that in 2035 someone's going to go to jail if they don't achieve them. So these are the reasons why we had to take that kind of stance. So I understand that these are challenging things. We're a fairly bold government, and I'm hoping that by taking bold decisions and demonstrating that there's some wisdom behind it, that we'll be able to continue to defend everything that we have that's going here. And I'm just looking forward to having a really strong Alberta. I think that we're ascendant. This is our decade, and I can't wait to tell our story.
It'll be interesting if Danielle Smith makes 2020 to 2030 Alberta's decade, right? Being ascendant, because they want to undo oil and gas before 2030, because that's a very important aspect of the net zero grift, because that's what it is. It's a net zero grift. Speaking of grifting, let's head over to COP28. Senator Rob Black says he's a senator for Ontario focused on representing and defending rural communities and agricultural sector, right? And he's doing that in Dubai. Sure he is. And he says it's really a small world when you run into the Guelph mayor, Cam Guthrie, walking down the street at COP28. So, wow, cool. In Dubai. Why are you guys there? Why did you waste all of our money going there? What the heck are you accomplishing there that you couldn't accomplish here on a Zoom call? You lying thieves. Disclosed TV is reporting COP28 President Sultan Al Jaber says there's no science behind demands for the phase out of fossil fuels unless you want to take the world back into caves. Yep. And people are super mad about it. Super, super mad. Sultan Al Jaber, phase out of fossil fuels would not allow sustainable development unless you want to take the world back into caves. COP28 president says there's no science behind the phase out for fossil fuels. No science. right. He's not wrong. Here is part of this article. It says COP28 president. Yeah, I said that already. The president of COP28 says there's no science. Al-Jaber also said the phase out of fossil fuels would not allow sustainable development unless you want the world to go back into caves. The comments were incredibly concerning and verging on climate denial, scientists said, as they were at odds with the position of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. I'm saying that wrong. Al-Jaber made the comments in an ill-tempered response to questions from Mary Robinson, the chair of the Elders Group and a former UN Special Envoy for Climate Change, during a live online event on November 21st. As well as running COP28 in Dubai, Al-Jaber is also the executive of the United Arab Emirates state oil company, ADNOC, which many observers see as a serious conflict of interest. More than 100 countries already support the phase out of fossil fuels, and whether the final COP28 agreement calls for their use for this or uses weaker language such as phase down is one of the most fiercely fought issues at the summit and may be the key determinant of its success. Deep and rapid cuts are needed to bring fossil fuel emissions to zero and limit fast worsening climate impacts. So that's absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Hold on a second. We'll carry on. Al-Jaber spoke with Robinson at Sea Changes climate event. Robinson said, quote, "We're in an absolute crisis that is hurting women and children more than anyone, and it's because we have not yet committed to phasing out fossil fuel. This is one decision that COP28 can take, and in many ways, because you're head of ADNOC, you could actually take it with more credibility." Al-Jaber said, "I accepted to come to this meeting to have a sober and mature conversation. I'm not in any way signing up to any discussion that is alarmist. There is no science out there or no scenario out there that says the phase out of fossil fuels is what's going to achieve 1.5 degrees Celsius." Robinson challenged him further, saying, "I read that your company is investing in a lot more fossil fuels in the future." Al-Jaber responded, "You're reading your own media, which is biased and wrong. I'm telling you, I'm the man in charge." One of the other things that I wanted to mention was this part here. It says more than 100 countries already support the phase out of fossil fuels. Having consensus, like if I walked into a room and somebody came up to me and said, "Sir, the consensus is that you've got 3 legs." Would that bestow 3 legs upon me? Would I have 3 legs then? If everybody said, "Sir, we all agree that you have 6 fingers on each hand," would I then have 6 fingers? No, the consensus is bullshit. Consensus means nothing. It means absolutely, what's your consensus based on? How did you come to that conclusion? Could I see your science? As I have 2 hands here and 5 fingers on each. So like your consensus means zip, nothing. We all agree that we should destroy our country. We all agree that we should tax air. Cool. It's not going to do anything. We all agree that we should destroy our countries. You 100 countries wanted to destroy yourself? Have at her. We're not going to. You have fun. Let us know how it goes. Right? We should not be beholden to somebody's expectation because of their collective agreement that something is true. Just because they agree it's true does not make it true. And so it's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. And we're expected to just go along with it. "Sir, you have 3 legs. We need to deal with this right away." "Oh yeah? What do we have to do?" "Because it looks like I have 2. C.D. Howitt says, "Canadians are resilient, and so should be our heating. Let's progress forward with a thought-out plan." So this is a think tank group. Okay, official account for the C.D. Howe Institute, Canada's leading independent nonprofit public policy research organization. They say sustainable changes come from real plans. These people do not have a real plan. Go F yourself. Go F yourself. Yes. And I responded to this as well. That's interesting because it's not there anymore. That's very interesting. I certainly did respond. I wonder if they've hidden it. Hold on. I quote tweeted them because I wasn't allowed to respond. They turned off their responses, which I realized here. But somebody, I guess, was allowed to respond. Weird. Anyway, moving on. I wasn't. But oh well. Drea says carbon passports are coming. CNN Travel is reporting it's time to limit how often we can travel abroad. Carbon passports may be the answer. How many of you conspiracy theorists, says Drea, warned the people that our COVID tyranny era was to groom us into complying with future globalist goals? Do you think people are going to be just fine with the whole idea of passports and green passes and things like that? I don't. I really don't. I don't think so. And I think that it's not going to take many people because, okay, I'm one person and I know for a fact I've talked to, during the height of masking, I was talking to 1 or 2 parents a day and they were asking me how I got around masking my kids at school. So I was teaching other people, I was teaching other people directly. They were messaging me on my phone. They were emailing me and I was emailing them back directly. Nobody paid me for this. People offered to pay me. They did. Some people sent me gifts and things like that to say thank you for what I did because they couldn't believe it worked, honestly. But people like me, and not just me, but like people like me, people who see clearly that this is wrong, will push through it and will teach people how to push through it. They will say, you don't have to do this because these are the laws that apply. And if you say this, they have to let you do that. And that will be the way that this all falls apart because nobody's willing to do this. And basically, it's not you that you're going to protect. A lot of people won't stand up for themselves because they don't understand the whole idea is on an airplane, you have to put on your mask to breathe if the air pressure drops. And if you put your kid's mask on, they can't help you, right? So you put your mask on and you say, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this damn thing that you want me to do. And then you stand in front of your kid. You put your kid's mask on, proverbially, to help them breathe in the depressurized cabin, right? In this metaphor. And you protect them, right? And you protect them. Most people will stand up to protect their kids. They won't stand up to protect themselves. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but they will stand up to protect their kids. So through their children, they will stand up and they will say no. And that's an interesting thing to me. But we collectively as a population, because of people like me, and not me, but people like me, people who just won't shut up, we will not let this happen. We won't. But we need everybody to stand up in order to stop this crap from continuing to be tried over and over again. But we won't let it happen. We won't stand by and let it happen. They'll have to arrest us. They will have to take it up to the next level. They will have to remove en masse all of the people like me and Greg and Chris Sky and Owen Benjamin and all of the much bigger accounts that are much bigger and much more prominent than me. But even the small ones, just like me, because I'm a small one, we make waves. We make waves and drive them crazy because they can't control us and they damn well know it. And the only way to control us is to change the laws to a degree where the citizens would say no. That's it. So they're stuck and they know it. And I won't shut up. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful